Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mind Body Medicine for Chronic Pain. My name is Sean Hershey. I am your host. I am a therapist, and I specialize in helping people dealing with exactly what you are dealing with. Chronic pain and chronic symptoms that come from an emotional and psychological place, and I help people heal from that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Stuff in Minneapolis with ice is still so unreal. Oh my God. I'm just thinking of the little kids. Oh man, like the little kids in ice detention, which like ice detention centers are like prisons. Liam, the little kid in the bunny hat, if you saw that picture, heartbreaking. And a 10-year-old girl named Elizabeth who was detained for a month, who finally made it back to Minnesota. Imagine that. Like, just imagine that. I mean, I'm just like, imagine if that happened to me when I was that age. Imagine if that happened to you. This is really like some major shadow side stuff here. This is really bad. Um, Here's a text from one of my friends who's a teacher in Minneapolis. She's she says, "Hey, what's up from your MSP girl in occupation?" Peace sign emoji. Blah blah blah. I've had a kid cry in my classroom every day for a week. And then more blah blah blah. This is just so sad. And I want to do anything I can to stop it, and I don't know what to do. Maybe you're feeling the same way. Ugh. And life is complicated. And I'm saying that because while this is happening, there's a little ray of sun and a little flower bud growing in a little corner. And that is because you are healing from your chronic pain. Life is so painful sometimes, and it is so hard to bloom into the person that you were meant to be. But look at you. Look at you. Okay. This interview today is a nice feel, laid back, comfortable, fun, and lots of good information. Also some good shooting the shit over mind body healing vibes. You are so welcome to join into that vibe with me and Alexander Rosan. Okay, let's talk. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mind Body Medicine for Chronic Pain podcast. I am here with an awesome guest and my friend, I would say, Alexander Rosan. Welcome, Alexander.
Totally, friend. I am so glad we got to meet each other and spend some time at that conference with one another. Really nice to be on your show, and thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you for coming. So Alexander and I met at the ATNS conference, and we stayed in the same Airbnb, which was totally baller. We had the best time. It was like parties every night, hot tub, like the vibes were good.
It was so fun.
So why don't you start by telling our audience a little bit about yourself, and let me just say one thing that I remember really clearly from the conversations we had is that you told me you've been a body worker for a long time, and you had not heard of Dr. Sarno until about 6 months before the conference. So it's clear to me like you came into this in a different, like from a different avenue than I did, and that a lot of people probably listening to this podcast came into this. So with that in mind, talk to us about who you are and what you do professionally.
Yeah, I have been doing this work, I think, for over 15 years now, and really came by this work on accident. I had no idea that there was a link between pain in the body and held what I've always called held or stored emotion and trauma in the body. And I started working with my clients, mostly as a massage therapist, and giving them body work that sort of allowed them to talk about their pain, talk about their issues. And I would say, when I first started, I would just say, how does that feel in your body? What do you notice in your body when you think about your pain? And I started noticing little tidbits of them being out of pain for a few days afterwards. And they would say, no one else has been able to put me out of pain. I'm just going to keep coming back to you. So I didn't know what I was doing. I was just sort of thinking about, well, that worked. So I'm just going to keep diving in deeper. And I was noticing that the deeper I would dive into what they were feeling in their body, asking them a range of different questions, and then eventually having them actually express that emotion, sometimes intentionally, most often unintentionally, that their pain would either completely go away or extremely dissipate.
Wow. Wow. That I mean, it's amazing that it's like doing that work just like intuitively is really amazing. I mean, so I'm thinking like talk to us about like your journey into becoming a body worker. Like what got you interested in that? What was your training like? Like talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I used to be an opera singer, and
Oh, I did not know that.
yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
Wow, cool.
Did the full kit and caboodle, went to Boston Conservatory, and, was really in line to doing that. And
Wow.
I met, who I call my first soulmate. His name was Gabriel, and he introduced me to the world of bodywork. He heard me sing and told me that he thinks that I would be better suited as a bodyworker than I would a singer, only because he felt like a sort of healing power from my voice. And he was like, I think you're a healer.
Wow.
And at the time, I was actually celibate. And so Gabriel's and I's way of like connecting with each other was actually through body work. It was our way of having physical intimacy without sex. And through exploring that whole thing with Gabriel, I really came to a point of wanting to switch everything around and go into the realm of bodywork. So I left Boston, left the conservatory, moved to Oregon, where I got my yoga teacher training and massage therapy license, and started down that track.
Wow. So that was like profoundly impactful.
A totally different, yeah. It changed the course of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, at that time, like, what do you remember about, like, the draw to body work, you know?
Yeah. I think for me, it was it started with the connection and the touch, and it felt like a really beautiful way to express care, both giving and receiving. There's almost like a loop that's created when you're working with someone on the table, and there's a chemistry that's found that once you're in the true like giving and receiving of the work, that that you're both with each other, and that style of presence is both rare and completely beautiful at the same time. Um, and I think also because I myself am someone who have worked with plenty of trauma. I'm type 1 diabetic. You type 1s out there probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But in and out of the hospital all growing up. And I also moved every 1 to 3 years of my life, had a pretty narcissistic father, and et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. And body work was always receiving body work was always something that gave me a little bit more peace in my body, and I noticed that when I had peace in my body, I had peace in my mind. And so when Gabriel introduced this whole thing to me, it was actually a pretty easy switch over.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, s so many of us who get into this stuff, like, we've gone through hard shit ourselves, and we, like, need this work ourselves, which I 1,000% same. Um, I it's cool to hear you talk about, like, the giving and receiving of, the body workspace and having someone on the table. Psychotherapy is really similar. I mean, like, I totally relate to what you're saying. I mean, there's so many times, the session is about the client and it's about them. And it's fun for me. Like, many times it's gratifying for me. It takes me deeper into my own brain, and it takes me deeper into my own body, and it's fun, like, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it's attunement.
Yeah.
And when you both find that attunement with one another, it's really beautiful, and you both learn, you both gain. There's this, like, it doesn't matter who walks through the door, and I'm sure you experience this too, but if you really are working with someone, it's almost impossible not to find true care and even love for that
Mm,
individual.
mm. It's funny how in my own life, I can be very, like, like, just, like, I mean, I don't know, I live in New York, there's people everywhere,
Yeah.
can't take everything in, you know what I mean? But w in and sometimes I'm just like, "Oh my god, so many people out of my way, I can't with this." But in, like, a therapy setting, it's like, um in a healing space, you really there's no way not to feel some level of empathy and connection with someone when you're really trying, and I think also when somebody, becomes a patient and, like, they make themselves vulnerable to a healing process, and they come saying, like, "I need help, I need something." There's something about that level of vulnerability that is just, like, very, very connective.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Talk to us about I know nothing about body work training. What was that like? What did you learn? Did you learn much about, like, neuroplasticity or emotional life? Like, talk to us about that.
So, I mean, the realm of bodywork was really it was really just coming into, at least as far as I understood, into the world, into the matrix of, like, most people were familiar with massage therapy. A lot of people to this day call massage therapists masseurs or masseuses, which is, a masseur is the male, a masseuse is the female. But nobody knows. Everyone's just like, "Oh, I went to go see a masseuse," and I'm like, I'm a masseur," but uh,
FYI, get it right.
um, but yeah, I think the finding, like, body work it was really introduced to me by Gabriel, who said that there's something beyond just massaging the body, and that through pressing on certain points, through digging in certain areas of the body, um, I remember he did, intranasal work where he
Wow.
stuck his entire forefinger into my nose
Holy shit. Wow.
to, like, get into, like, the nasal passage and cavity, and I was like, "What is this?" Super intense. Um, Talk about, not being able to penetrate and finding a different way.
Yeah, literally, that's what I was just thinking.
Um, yeah, really intense, and, I remember crying after certain places would be touched and held, um, and, eh, in massage school, when I went to massage school, my teachers said, "If you get someone who cries on the table, the appropriate thing to do is to stop the massage and ask them if they feel comfortable to continue the massage.
Mm.
And I remember the first time someone started crying underneath my hands, and I like almost stopped, and I was like, what am I doing? I'm about to ask this person, like, are you comfortable to continue this massage? What? That would have made it so much more awkward. And I mean, just like the whole thing, I was like, this is not the right move. I was not
Yeah.
taught correctly what to do. And so again, sort of made it up in the moment. I continued. I went a little bit more gentle with him. Rather than like digging in, I just sort of I did more soothing, caring touch, slowed down my pace, and matched his energy. And afterward, uh, he got off the table, and I was waiting out front. I was working at a yoga studio at the time. Um, and he kind of leaves out the front desk. He had glasses on, so I couldn't see his eyes. And he puts a tip in the tip thing, doesn't make eye contact with me, just like whispers goodbye, thank you, as he leaves. And I was like, oh shit, like, was that okay? Um, and I look in the tip envelope that he left, and he left $200 tip.
Wow.
The massage was like 80.
Wow. Wow.
And so that was sort of my first like, oh, I was not correctly taught,
Yeah.
and there is another way.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Out of curiosity, what do knowing what you know about, like, where you can go with massage work, what do you think would have happened had you, at the first sign of him showing emotion, had you backed off and said, "Are you comfortable with this?" or whatever you were trained to say? What do you think would have happened?
I imagine that his tears would have stopped,
Mhm.
um, and maybe he got a little bit more defensive, recognizing that
Mhm.
I'm I am not comfortable with his
Yeah.
tears,
Totally.
um, and that he would have said, "Oh, yes, I'm fine to continue the massage."
Mhm. Mhm.
I think that's what would have happened, and then,
Mhm.
you know, not at all that, my body work is about a tip, but I think he would not have had, as profound of an experience, and therefore
Right.
not left as profound of a tip.
Right, right, yeah, right, right, and I mean, what I'm also hearing there is, like, that probably would have, like, backed him out of the emotional experience. Is sort of like, you saying that would have said to him, like, "Let's not go there,"
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, and yeah, wow,
Yeah,
wow. I mean, one of the things we talk about on this podcast all the time is, the idea of, feeling safe, feeling your emotions,
yeah,
and what a powerful experience to give someone and for someone to have about, like, feeling safe, feeling emotions, starting to cry, starting to get into it, and having somebody go with it
yeah,
and allow it and treat it as though, like, this is what's supposed to happen versus, like, get scared and back off, because that makes you scared, you
yeah,
know?
yeah, and I think, it makes a great point to also just add that I think in a lot of more, what's the word? Like, uh, uh, some more clinical work around the, what's it called? Neuroplastic stuff, that some people can get right to the, like, just express your emotion, and it misses the point of, like, well, you can't just express the emotion if your body's not in a safe environment to be able to do so.
Yeah. 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 Totally.
Yeah,
Okay, so say more about how you go from, this, like, really profound introduction to body work through, like, a lover, and then going to school in, like, a very I mean, it just sounds like it was really not emotionally focused at all, and was more like emotion phobic, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, that is massage therapy. I mean,
Yeah,
fortunately, I am trauma informed and, I've had some training in trauma, and also I think half the
uh-huh,
training is just in experiencing it and
yeah,
experiencing a lot of help in it. But, that it is not in one's scope of practice as a massage therapist to work with people's emotions. Um, and, uh, uh, it's actually something that I find, like, to be really disappointing in both the world of psychotherapy and massage therapy or body work, because the 2 don't often cross.
yeah, right.
And as we know, everything is connected. And
Yes.
so where is in psychotherapy, where is the touch? Where is the, like, grounding sense, the someone to put their hand on your heart and say, "You are safe." And in so much massage and body work, where is the ability to, like, go into someone's emotion and dive in? I worked with someone, in outside of San Francisco who, sort of opened up my it he sort of opened up what it was that I had been wanting to do. I just had never been given permission to do it.
Mm,
I had all these ideas of what I wanted to do to work with the body, and it was like a 3 or 4-day workshop, and I don't know, he does really cool work, and people come to see him from all over the world, but also he's like low key alcoholic and so, kind
sure.
yeah, kind of problematic in lots of different ways.
Right.
Um,
None of us are perfect.
yeah, yeah, a little like he was like, I have accessed. He talked a lot about accessing the Akashic records and talked about accessing them, which is what gave him his abilities and I'm like, okay, you're very special. Good job. Um,
So okay, just wanna butt in there to say, I do that is something that I fear. I do think there is a big crossover between, like, people who are, like, really profound healers and forward thinking and innovative and, like, a little bit on the narcissist spectrum and think they're a
yes,
little too special,
yes.
and I'm like, "I hate that, and it scares me, I don't like
It
it."
really sucks. It is
Yeah,
there. It is
yeah,
prominent. I see it.
it is. It
Yeah,
is.
and it sucks because it's like, well, you're clearly talented. Like you are
Right.
doing really good work. You do have access to some shit, but
Uh,
also
yeah. No, I totally yeah, okay, totally feel you, but anyway, okay, so you learned from this guy and were inspired by this guy.
yeah, and yeah, he really did open up. Like, watching him work on bodies really did help me be like, "Oh, I can do what I've been wanting to do." And, yeah, and, from that point, I was able to work with people in the ways that I was being I don't wanna say guided, but sort of, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
when you're in flow in session and,
Mhm,
like, you get, like, a hit, like, "Oh my god, this is the question I have to ask," or,
mhm,
"This is where I need to go next." It's like I just hit it over and over and over, and I started noticing that the more that I'm finding attunement, the more that I would
mhm,
tune in with people and find that flow. Yeah,
mhm. Yeah, yeah, beautiful. I mean, and I think it's totally me for me personally, I think it's totally fair to say guided. I mean, I
yeah,
feel and I mean, one of the things that we talk about a lot on this podcast is attuning to your true self. And what I'm hearing there is like, is that
yeah,
like you're listening to like this actually is what I want to do. This actually feels good to me. And I so relate to that. I mean, in my like I've shifted my practice to be mostly working with clients around mind body stuff and like chronic pain, chronic symptoms, mind body connection oriented sort of clients. And I will say back in the day when I was advertising myself as like I work with clients, like LGBTQ clients dealing with relationship issues. Let's talk. It was like, I mean, that was a different time, and like the economy was better, and people had more money. But that was a time like when I had that when that was how I branded myself. I got so many clients, it was so easy. Now now that I'm doing mind body work, um, it's been a lot slower.
Yep.
It's been a lot, and I see why, because people call me, and in the consultations, they're a lot more hesitant, way more medically traumatized, really don't believe that this will help them, don't believe in themselves, and I'm like, "I totally get it, 'cause like, same, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm like, "I totally get all of this," and yet, if I were a different person or had sort of a different inner guidance, I would be like, "Fuck this. Like, this is stupid," and I would stop doing it. But I'm like, uh, similar to what you're saying, it's like, this is what I wanna do, so I don't care. Like, I don't care if it's hard, fine. Like, I'm gonna make it work.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cool. Well, let me ask you about this. I mean, if you wanna say anything about your personal journey with body work, like, I don't know, like things that you've needed to release in your body, or that you've shifts you felt in your body, like, if you wanna say anything about that and how it's impacted you personally.
Yeah. Where do I where do I begin? There are so many little experiences here and there.
Cool, yeah, whatever you wanna tell us about.
Um, okay, so, there is a form of, somatic therapy, that I'm currently undertaking, it called core energetics, and it has been some of the coolest work in lots of ways. I'm just gonna start here, and maybe I can go into some older stuff later, but,
Cool.
um, eh, for me, holding on to these long-term patterns that I'm sort of subconsciously unaware of, but also a little aware of, like, things that I'm like, "Well, I'm just this way, and this is the way the world is, and that's what it is," um, that I I've learned how to hold on to those patterns, and I'm too smart to use my brain to let go of them, because I can wrap around anyone being right about anything that I wanna be right about if I need to be right about it.
Mhm.
And so,
Mhm.
working with just, talk therapy, it hasn't really allowed me to feel what it is that I'm doing. And oftentimes when I do feel it, it sort of just ends up getting, like, pressed back down, and sometimes even deeper, because I get locked up in being it's in my body. What my therapist does is he sees it getting locked up in my body,
Mm.
and he'll actually have me, like, stand up and move that part or access that part, pound that part, with my hands, or he'll even, like, have me, like, get on the floor, and he'll start pounding that part. Um
Wow.
Mhm. And it is crazy the
Mm.
things that have happened after I go through a process, I let go of an emotion, and generally, first, my entire body is shaking and vibrating, and I feel high for
Wow.
probably like 20, 30 minutes. Um, and then over the course of time, my body also started to shift in its form. For the longest time, I was, Twinkie. I was I was like I people used to tell me that if I turned sideways, I'd disappear.
Wow.
Yeah, and the more that I started to go down the somatic therapy route, my body just slowly started to change forms, and not to, like, say that all men need to be this, but into a more masculine form of a body, where my
Yeah.
body thickened, maybe it's because I'm 41, but
I mean, no, this is actually bringing me one of the things that Nicole Sachs often says, which I think is so brilliant, is do the work and let your body be your proof.
yes.
So, and I believe what you're saying. You know, it's okay, sure. Do bodies change as they age? Yes, and like this has got to be part of it, right?
It has had a direct correlation, and not just in the last couple years. It's really when I started my somatic therapy route and started having some of these experiences that my I noticed my body start to change.
Mm,
And of course, not just my body, my mind, and how I think about things, how I frame things. It's been amazing to notice that my I haven't needed a therapist to reframe things for me, that through the work of my body has reframed things for me.
wow.
And it's been a really profound experience in that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really amazing. That's really amazing. I wonder about. I mean, I just since we're talking about it, like, look, let's go there. I wonder about the like being small thing because I really relate to that on like an emotional level. You know, the given like the family I grew up in and growing up gay in a pretty homophobic community. Um, I was emotionally very small,
Yeah.
and it's that's still something that I'm, kind of constantly working on is, like, letting myself be myself and letting myself have some size to me, and I mean, I wonder if there's I don't know, like, the being small, having, like, a narcissistic father and whatever, I mean, I don't like, what do you make of it, I guess, you know what I mean? And you know, only share what you feel comfortable
Oh,
sharing.
I mean, yeah, I'm happy to share about this. Yeah, I think being diabetic and,
Mm,
always having other people tell me what to do with my body,
mhm,
um, not feeling safe because of moving around all the time, and so always having to sort of reform who I was, kinda change who I was to fit the right mold, of where I was, and the easiest way to do that is to start for me, was to make myself small so that I had enough observation in the room. I could gain observation of the room of like, "Oh, they're acting like this, they're acting like that, these people do that," and sort of get a read on the room, and then when it was time, then I could sort of form myself so that I was safe in the room. But yeah, I think undoing that, it was partially through somatic therapy, getting, um allowing myself to be big. I think also being an opera singer, it gave me singing opera was one of my major emotional outlets. I
mm,
didn't express emotion. I didn't have access to my emotion around a lot of things growing up. Um, and I think one of the reasons why I was so good at singing is because I could put my emotion out through my voice. It's why I could bring an audience to tears, and I think they were feeling what it was that I was feeling.
mhm,
Um, and, a and being able to express some of that bigness, but never it was always, like, through a circuitous route, it was never actually expressing my thing. And so
mm.
when I started working with people that were allowing me to express and allow myself to be big in a space and to be as big as I wanted without them recoiling or being afraid of my bigness, telling me that it's okay to be that big, I started to feel really a lot more comfortable taking up space.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. That hearing you say that, it's bringing up this very visceral memory for me that when I was in, social work school, one of the classes I took was about, it was like trauma and trauma treatment, and at that time, this was, 2013 or 2014, one of those. At that time, this was, like, cutting edge, like, we were the first cohort who had a trauma, course offered to us, and so, like, the cohort above us was like, "Oh my god, like, the U of M added this now after we left," and so it was, like, it was very, like, cool for us to have this
That's
course, and
cool.
it was a good class.
Yeah.
Um, one the professor, Patty Shannon, I still remember her, such an Irish name, Patty Shannon. She, um, showed us this I never forget what the movie was, but she showed us this movie, um and whatever the scene, I mean, it was just like a clip from a movie, and whatever the scene was, it was like the protagonist's face at one point went totally blank, and that was like the emotional crux of the, scene was that sort of like prolonged shot of the facial expression,
Yeah.
and I forget the movie, but I remember it was really intense, like, the scene was really intense, and she was the professor, Patty Shannon, she was like, "What just happened there is that when you are sitting across from someone and when you're with someone and you know there's so much emotion there, but you see that they are not feeling it, you feel it." And she was like, "That's what happens in trauma therapy all the time. So pay attention to your emotions because you'll feel stuff if the client's not feeling it." And talking about like bringing an audience to tears through like expressing and not expressing your emotions is like, damn, looks like that's true.
Yep. That wow, what a profound story. I've never heard that framed like that before, and that makes a lot of sense. That's really cool. There's a, have you ever read, Somatic IFS?
No, I haven't, no.
Um, her name is, uh, oh gosh, Susan O'Connell, I think is the name. I hope I'm not butchering that. Um
Here, I'll look it up, but
Yeah,
yeah,
she should
yeah,
be
go ahead.
referenced correctly because I think she is a remarkable woman that has done some really cool work.
Cool,
Um,
book by Susan McConnell.
Susan McConnell, thank you. Yeah,
Got it. I'll add it to the show notes.
yeah,
Go
and
on.
really cool work, and one of the things that she says is, like, when you're working with someone and, they come in and all of a sudden you're starting to feel anxious. And this is a continuation of what you were talking about. You start to feel anxious. So you feel the anxiety in your body, even though it may not be your own, and you ground it and let that anxiety in your body settle. It is profound how the person sitting in front of you will also then take a deep breath and that anxiety in them might settle as well.
Wow, that's cool. That's very cool.
We're all so connected.
Totally, and healing interpersonally is really powerful, period.
Is. It's so cool.
I do wanna get to, like, advice that you have for people on their healing journey, but
Yeah.
before we get to that, um, I know, like, because you're at the conference, at the ATNS conference. I don't even know, like, how did you get, connected with that? Like, what you know what I mean? Like, how did you get into that
Yeah.
stuff?
So, lovely Becca Kennedy,
Mm,
came into my office, not telling me who she was or what she was about, and she was just like, "Yeah, I've heard really good things about your work, and I want in." And I was like,
cool, wow.
"Okay." And that does I get that every now and then where people are like, hear about me through the grapevine, and they're like, "Oh, I wanna check that out." And she was like, I think you would be a wonderful, addition to our conference. Would you be willing to come speak at it?" And I told her that I was, like, excited, like, very excited to be starting to speak at conferences and stuff like this, and it felt like a really awesome opportunity, and that's how I came into it.
That's awesome. I love that, I love that, and for the audience, I was at Alexander's talk, and it was amazing.
Aw. It was really fun to be able to do that.
Cool, cool. Well, yeah, so let's get into, I mean, you're talking to people who are at all different stages of healing, need different things, want different things, have different systems of the body that are dysregulated. So it's a big group of different kinds of people in different positions, but everybody's struggling with something. People come to this podcast because they're struggling with something, and they know that what we're dealing with here is emotional and psychological pain.
Yeah.
Like that's where we're at. So talk to us. What advice from a body worker do you have for people who are in that place?
I mean, it really is such a journey. And
Yeah.
I think starting by really meeting yourself where you're at.
Mhm.
And that sounds a little ambiguous. Well, it is a little ambiguous, but if you can slow yourself down enough to actually like hear and tune into your energetic patterns, your vibration, like
Mhm.
are you sort of like always on the go? Are you always thinking, always ticking, always, and what happens if you slow that down enough to just be like, where am I? And not just where am I in my mind, but where am I at every single point of my body? And I really like for this type of thing, I actually really like using the chakra system. I don't
Mm.
I even when I started doing this, I didn't know a lot about the chakras, but it's such a great system because you have your groin, you have just above your groin, you have your solar plexus, you have your heart, you have your throat, you have your forehead, third eye, and you have the top of your head. And just as a reference point for your body and the emotions that you can feel in there, it's a great way to look inward and to feel what's there, to feel the energetics, the vibration of that area, to feel like, how do I feel? Are there emotions that I feel? Asking yourself questions that dig. Like, if I were to go into my stomach and be like, what's happening here? And I'm like, oh, well, there's a little bit of anxiety. Like, what do you feel anxious about, Alex? And and then like maybe you'll come up with an answer of, I feel anxious about my day today or about my day tomorrow. Like, well, what do you need around that anxiety? Is there something that brings up fear? Is there something that brings it's like sort of, it's almost like self therapy, like asking
Mhm.
digging questions to yourself, and always only as much as possible addressing those questions in a sweet, loving, and kind way, almost as if you were talking to a child or your own inner child. I think if you're going to like endeavor in this work, especially around the body, mapping out your body and like I've actually done this with clients before where I draw the outline of a body and I'm like, okay, what do you feel here? What do you feel here? What do you feel here? And then you have this cool little like collage map of all the emotions that people feel in different parts of your body. And
Mm.
then you can like put a hand on that part of the body and say, you feel fear here, or you feel
Mm.
anger here. And being able to slowly start to dig into, um, there is ultimately and truly nothing to be afraid of, as scary as that sounds.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Say more, say more.
um, we don't, anytime that I have had to look into my own stuff that I feel timid or afraid to address, the feeling of the monster is so much bigger than the monster itself. And, I've had a couple near-death experiences, and
Oh, wow.
the it's sort of the same thing. It's letting something die. And when you first go, there's struggle. When you first start to let go of life, um, there's struggle. There's like this like apprehension and nerve and anxiety and like, oh shit.
Mhm,
But then the let go happens, and it is the sweetest release. It is the sweetest. It's like touching like golden thread.
mm,
And that is we have these monsters in us. I don't know if monster is the right word, but these creatures in us that like they need to die. They're acting parts of us. If you want to use the like IFS frame, they're they're like acting parts of us that are actually doing us harm, and they need to either die or integrate into the self.
mhm.
And letting those parts die is exactly that. It's scary and intimidating, but actually, once it happens, on the other side of it is gorgeous.
I love that. I love that. I mean, w what we talk about here is like think psychologically, not physically. And I always struggle. Well, I shouldn't say always struggle. That makes a lot of sense to me. But I know that some people take that, healing from chronic pain is a journey of thinking psychologically, not physically. People will take that as like, let me then kind of treat this as like a neck up situation and not deal with neck down, which is not what that really means. And what you're explaining is like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, I just want for people listening to be like, yes, like like the way you're talking about dealing with your body through a psychological lens rather than thinking like, what am I feeling in my stomach? Is my dysbiosis acting up? Like, oh, I wonder if my, you know what I mean? Like, because so many people, that's where their head is at, you know?
That's a really good point. Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. It's like it's diving into the psychology of the body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And I also think let's talk about this because something that we talk about on this podcast is the idea that there are no bad parts, and that is Richard Schwartz's like book on IFS is the title is No Bad Parts. And I love that because I'm like, all the defenses are there for a reason. All the things you hate about yourself are there for a reason. I really, really love that.
me too.
And I also resonate with what you're saying is like, there are parts in you that need to die, which kind of sounds like there are bad parts, but I'm like, I'm not taking it that way. But
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, how would you reconcile those two
Yeah, I
things?
really appreciate that because even as I was saying it, I was like, "Well, I don't wanna, like, make that monster wrong." Like, I don't wanna, like, not give it permission, but it's like, look at, like, the high school bully. Like,
Mm,
they suck, but
yeah.
ultimately, they are hurting,
Yeah.
and we know that, like, generally speaking, the high school bully is, like, someone who is actually really suffering in their own personal life, and so like, are you gonna call this kid who's really suffering a monster? Or are you going to look at, like, what brought you to this place, and how can we learn to love and accept the parts of you that had these challenging experiences to help to help bring you into a place of, like, more ease around the people that you spend time around? And so it's, to me, it's a similar thing where yeah, like, we can't have someone bullying. That bully needs to, like, leave the school if they're going to continue because they're going to be doing a lot of damage to other kids. Like, expulsion is probably the best way to work with that. But simultaneously, does that taking that kid out of the school mean that, like, that kid is bad? No, it means that now we're going to work specifically with that child to help them come into an easier way of being, to give them more love, give them more care, put them into, like put them into therapy so that they get the help that they need.
Mhm. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, this is such a random thought, but what I'm thinking is every job I've ever worked at now, thank God I work for myself, and so I don't deal with this, but every job I've ever worked at, there's always a couple people it's like, the staff will be a range of, like, you know, good at some things, not good at other
Yeah.
things, just like me. Some things I'm good at, other things I'm like calendar and scheduling, for example. I'm like, please don't make me or whatever. Everybody has their talents and their struggles within a range of normal.
Oh, yes.
And then there's always every place I've ever worked, there's always a couple people who I'm like, they should not be here.
Yes.
Like, what is going on? Like, how is this person? It's like, yes, I'm not perfect at everything, obviously. I have growth to do,
Yeah.
obviously. So do everybody on staff. These few,
Are
they just
really not
shouldn't be
perfect.
here. Right. Like, we're too far off base. And I am I don't know. I'm very much an advocate for like people who can't do a job should not be doing the job. But but I love what you're saying. It helps, like, reframe that in my mind, like, somebody who's really causing issues in a workplace, and they've got a terrible attitude, and no one likes them, and they don't like anyone, and they're not doing well in the job, that person doesn't wanna be there. Like, they need something else. So it's a nice compassionate way, like, the idea of expelling a part or killing off a part and, like, repurposing a part
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, cruel.
Yeah.
Like, how nice for a monster inside you to get to, like, lay down and go to sleep and take a rest and ta get the fangs removed and just chill out.
Yep. Exactly. It's just like helping that part to move on or
Yeah,
to move forward. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Okay, well, as we're winding down, any other, like, advice you have or anything else you would wanna tell people?
Um, there are so many incredible practitioners of this work.
Mm, mm,
And I encourage anyone who's listening to find the people that work for you. It doesn't always you won't always land on the right person the first or second or third time.
mhm,
And really, like, it's okay to switch. It's okay to recognize that someone isn't working for you and that someone else might work better. Um, we were talking earlier about attunement, and if you don't know that experience or you haven't had that experience with the person or people that you're working with, there is someone out there that's better for you. And I really encourage you to find that.
mm. That's so nice. I mean, it's so hopeful. It's like, you are correct. If you're not vibing with your practitioner, you are correct, move on. If you are vibing with your practitioner, you are correct,
Yeah.
stay. Like, that's that's nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice. All right, Alexander, where can people find what do you offer? And, where can people find you if they're interested in learning more or maybe working with you?
Yeah. So I offer a range of different things. Generally, the people that I'm seeing are people who are suffering from chronic pain. I also work with, if you've ever heard of visceral manipulation, this is a style of French osteopathy that is really cool and has all sorts of implications for helping with chronic pain, with chronic functional patterns in the body, this type of thing. Also, people who just want a really good massage.
Mm.
That's like it can be hard to come by. A lot of people think they just like go to Massage Envy and they're gonna get what you get anywhere else, and that is not the case.
I've gotten such a range. I have gotten massages that are so nice
Yeah,
and massages that are so shit. So, yeah, second that opinion.
exactly. Yeah, but that's generally what I'm doing. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
people can find me at my website, alexanderrosan.com. That's Rosan. And, all my contact and stuff is there too. Feel free to reach me. My phone number is available on that website, and, yeah, it's been really lovely.
Cool. Awesome. And we will link that in the show notes along with the somatic IFS book. Um well, thank you so much for coming on. You're in Portland, Oregon, so I guess people like kind of need to be like in that area to access you.
Yeah, you can fly me out for, private vacations to villas. Happy to work there. Like, give me a room, my own room. My own private pool would be fine as well. Uh,
Perfect. Perfect. Well, let me tell you, one of the things we talk about on this podcast is like letting yourself spend money on yourself, like putting resources to you.
Yeah.
So if anybody listening wants to spend money on yourself by buying
I
Alex a
got you.
five-star exactly. Like now's your chance. If you want to really take it to the next level. Alexander Rosan.
Oh,
All
thank you
right.
so
Well,
much for having me on your show, Sean. It's been really, really nice to be here. Thank you, thank you.
absolutely. You're so welcome. Thank you for coming on. It has been such a pleasure. And for everybody listening, this has been Mind Body Medicine for Chronic Pain, and I will talk to you next week. If you're looking for a therapist, you found one. And you can decide, does my vibe resonate with you? Therapy is an opportunity. Therapy is an opportunity to tune into you, to learn to feel more comfortable being yourself, to feel more comfortable with your emotions, and to feel more comfortable existing in the world, in your body. So whatever you're struggling with, chronic pain or otherwise, the opportunity that therapy provides is an opportunity for profound healing. Do you have difficulties in your life? Do you want a therapist to help you? And would you like me to get to know you and to help you? If so, that is actually an option. You can find me at SeanHershey.com or MindBodyMedicineForChronicPain.com. Both go to the same place. And if you're looking for me, I would welcome a message from you. SeanHershey.com, MindBodyMedicineForChronicPain.com, and you can request a free consultation.